Hello everyone, welcome to Wally Global. Today is April 6th, 2025. This is the first video. There is twists and turns of Li-Ka-shing port businesses to BlackRock. Just now, there was an exclusive article in the South China Morning Post revealing that CK Hutchison is now being accused by Panamanian lawyers supported by the government of infringing on Panama's sovereignty and saying that controlling Panama's terminal is actually unconstitutional. The excessive power means that even if Cheung Kong does not sell the terminal, it may lose control of the Panama terminal. If Cheung Kong loses control, Chinese companies and Hong Kong companies will lose control. Where will the control fall? Will it fall to Trump? In addition, will all the countries along the Belt and Road Initiative follow suit? In this case, will it be said that Demosisto Enterprise has so many infrastructure projects and so on, so it is unconstitutional? Why not go to the video and discuss news and topics with everyone? Before we begin, I kindly invite you to subscribe to my channel. It's completely free. Feel free to leave a comment, like the video, and share it with your friends to help support the channel.
Thank you for your support.
The South China Morning Post just published an exclusive article revealing that he said that just in 2025, two Panamanian lawyers, one named Norman Castro and the other named Julio Matias, filed a lawsuit in the Supreme Court of Panama to challenge the concession contract signed by CK Hutchison, that is Cheung Kong, with the Panamanian government in 1997. He said that there is a problem with this contract because it is equivalent to giving Hong Kong's CK Hutchison to control the ports at both ends of the Panama Canal, which directly undermines national sovereignty. In terms of national sovereignty, this matter is very serious and even affects the public interest and economic fairness. Macias told the South China Morning Post that we ask the court to rule that this law is completely unconstitutional because it gives a private company some privileges, and these privileges only belong to the Panamanian government. He also said that even the American BlackRock, after buying the port, the lawsuits will continue because they target the contract itself and the legal structure, not a certain company or country. Is it targeting China or the United States? Moreover, before this incident, the president of Panama withdrew from China's Belt and Road Initiative and sent many people to CK Hutchison's port business to review and audit, etc. It is actually very troublesome. Back in 1997, the Panamanian government and Panama Ports Corporation, a subsidiary of CK Hutchison, signed this contract, giving them control over both ends of the port. Lawyers said that this contract actually has many problems. First, it did not go through an open bidding process, which violated the requirements of the Constitution. Second, it gave tax exemptions, but did not have formal legislative approval. Third, Cheung Kong Holdings has the right to restrict designated areas, one called Diablo and Isla Telfers. The port's development also includes a veto over nearby infrastructure projects. That power is so great that he said it was unacceptable for a private company to have a veto over a country's decision on its own territory. This undermined the sovereignty of the republic. He felt that these powers should only belong to the country and should not be taken away by private companies. The lawyer said in the court file that the contract violated Articles 1 and 2 of the Panamanian Constitution. These articles state that state sovereignty and public power are only exercised by the people through electoral institutions. They also said that the contract created a monopoly, stifled free competition, did not require a comprehensive environmental assessment, and violated the principles of the Constitution to protect a healthy environment. He found many different types of laws and filed the case from different angles. Matias made it clear that this contract did not serve the public interest or the interests of the general public, but rather served private interests. In February of this year, the Attorney General of the country, Luis Carlos Gomez Rudy All, support this challenge. He said that the contract not only violates sovereignty, but also gives private companies great power. For example, if the government has new franchises to give to some new companies, it should ask Panama Port Corporation. This is a matter of public interest and it is subordinate to private interests, so he thinks it is unreasonable to do so. The South China Morning Post published these articles at this time, or whether the Panamanian government is also doing this. Is it trying to prevent Cheung Kong from selling or something, or is it preventing China or Hong Kong companies from controlling the Panama Canal? It is really up to everyone to judge for themselves. It really makes people speculate. Speaking of similar cases, it turned out that in November 2023, the Supreme Court of Panama ruled that the mining contract between a Canadian company called First Quantum Minerals and the government was unconstitutional. At that time, it forced one of the world's largest copper mining companies, Cobre Panama, to the closure of the concession. At that time, caused a large-scale protest and national reflection. Castro said that we used the same constitutional provisions and the case at that time as the basis for the entire law. If the court's judgment on this case is different from this case, it will become very contradictory. Both cases have appropriate power transfer, and there is no problem of open bidding and favoritism for private interests. Therefore, the lawyer feels that there is a chance to win this time. Recently, the headlines have become international headlines. The CK Hutchison Group plans to sell its global port business, including Panama Terminal, to a consortium led by the United States BlackRock. The transaction is worth $23 billion. This transaction is controversial. Beijing warns not to sell out the country and so on. Many party media, official media, and even formal official agencies such as the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office have reprinted these criticisms. The official media is simply writing about China's antitrust agency, saying that it will investigate and even say that it involves national security. Panama's lawyers used a metaphor that when two elephants fight, the grass suffers the most. Panama is grass. They don't want Panama's infrastructure to change, the pawn in the competition between China and the United States. The government said it would closely monitor the deal and approve it before it can be done. Analysts said that if the Supreme Court ruled that it was unconstitutional, it might affect the deal and even force the buyer to renegotiate the terms. But remember that the United States is very powerful. It said sending troops and Carter was stupid. It gave it to Panama, which spent many lives to build the canal. And so on. The public has its own reasons. How will this century-long competition be in the future? Although the Supreme Court has not announced the time of its ruling, it is expected to start discussing it on April 11th. Castro and Messias will say that this battle is actually a matter of principle. Our constitution needs to be respected. No matter who owns the port, Panama's sovereignty is not for sale. Public attention has increased in the past few months because the audit found that the strategic value of the port is not proportional to the national return. Lawyers also hope to ensure that Panama's sovereignty and constitutional order are not affected by external factors through this lawsuit. I think the result of his doing this now is good anyway. If he loses and CK Hutchison wins, CK Hutchison will sell it to BlackRock. If he wins, CK Hutchison will also lose the operating rights. This is very interesting. CK Hutchison's loss of the operating rights is not controlled by Hong Kong companies, not by Chinese capital, and not by companies controlled by the national security law in Hong Kong. The US President and US Secretary of State Rubio are talking about what they are worried about. That is, both ends of the Panama Canal will no longer be affected by China's control. Are they controlled by the United States? If you look back at the Panamanian president, he seems to be greatly influenced by Trump. Their relationship seems to be good. Although Trump is talking nonsense, it seems that Panama has done its job as if it is fair and neutral. But what will happen next? Well, if he and the United States He didn't give it to the United States. The United States said it would take it back and send troops. It seemed that some military equipment was transported to Panama. The situation was quite tense afterwards. Okay, on the other hand, what would the captain do when he saw this situation? He would continue to sell the docks. At most, he would not sell the 2 docks in Panama. The valuation would be greatly reduced. How much would it be reduced? It really needs to be calculated. Why would he continue to sell other docks? Because other docks, including Poland did not allow the US military to put down those heavy weapons. The docks were used by the passing US troops, etc. This incident actually made the United States angry. Therefore, many docks in Poland or Western countries involving Ukraine, etc., will be questioned and doubted by everyone. Although the trade war is going on now, it is also in chaos. Some countries have different ideas. Some countries want to talk to the United States. Some countries say countermeasures and so on. But selling the docks is another strategic consideration. Li Ka-shing certainly wants to escape from this kind of Sino-US or geopolitical struggle, so he should continue to sell other docks. In addition, I want to say that Panama has withdrawn from the Belt and Road Initiative. Will other Belt and Road countries follow suit? Not all of them. Will some of them withdraw? Or will some of them say, hey, now that this one is controlled by you, I will use, those tricks and statements just now and take back those operating rights and so on. Will they follow suit again? Each country is different. You have to watch them one by one. The content of this episode is almost there. If you have any ideas, please leave a message below to tell me. I hope you like this video. Share it with your friends. Remember to subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye.